While searching for my late wife's necklace, the sole memento I possessed of her, my daughter announced with chilling detachment, "The necklace has been sold. I required the funds for a holiday." Dismayed by her apparent betrayal, I contacted the pawnshop to reclaim it. They informed me, "Sir, you would not believe what we discovered upon opening the locket on the pendant." This revelation unveiled a profound truth about my family. Before we proceed, please consider subscribing to the channel and sharing in the comments what time it is where you are presently. I stood in my bedroom, gazing at the vacant velvet receptacle, my hands unsteady against the open compartment. The case sat there, as if a silent indictment, its cream-colored satin lining holding naught but the spectral absence of what should have been present. Eleanor's necklace, the gold chain with the heart-shaped locket she had worn without fail for 40 years, now vanished. From downstairs, Jennifer's voice sliced through the morning atmosphere, issuing sharp directives regarding breakfast. Michael's laughter boomed from the living area, underscored by the clamor of a sports commentator. Amber's phone conversation drifted upwards, a litany of complaints about being confined, about Phoenix being dull, and her eagerness to return to California. Today marked Eleanor's birthday, 3 years since her passing, and I had intended to spend the morning in solitude with that necklace, the last tangible piece of her that still retained a warmth for me. Instead, I was confronted by this hollow case and the disarray of my family treating my home as their personal lodging. I pulled the drawer completely free, spilling socks onto the bed. Nothing. I dropped to my knees, searching beneath the dresser. Dust and an old receipt met my gaze. My chest tightened. I moved to the closet, patting down coat pockets, examining shoeboxes on the shelf. My breathing quickened. The bathroom was next. I yanked open the medicine cabinet, pulling out the drawers beneath the sink. Q-tips scattered across the tiled floor. Where could it be? Where was it? I scoured improbable locations. The nightstand drawer I had already examined twice, behind the headboard, beneath the mattress. My hands trembled more violently now. That persistent tremor of panic, a sensation I hadn't experienced since the hospital, since those final hours with Eleanor, when no effort of mine could avert the inevitable. 42 years of marriage, and that necklace was all I had preserved. Her garments were donated, her books given to the library, her garden tools rusting in the shed because I could not bring myself to use them. But the necklace, I had kept it in its box, secure, untouched, save for days like today when I felt the need to recall her countenance. I descended the stairs, each step measured. In the living room, Michael was sprawled across my sofa, his feet resting on the armrest, a bag of chips balanced on his chest. He did not look up. I stepped over Amber's shopping bags clustered near the staircase, navigating around the coffee table she had shifted from its customary position. Jennifer stood at the kitchen counter, a phone in one hand, a knife in the other, rhythmically dicing vegetables with aggressive precision. "Thunk, thunk, thunk," I began. "Jennifer, have you seen it?" "I'm occupied, Dad." She didn't look up. "It's significant. Eleanor's necklace. Check your room. You've likely misplaced it." The knife continued its percussive beat against the cutting board. Thunk, thunk. "I've checked my room," I replied, endeavoring to maintain a steady tone. "I've searched everywhere. The necklace is gone." She sighed, that particular exhalation she had perfected over the past 2 years since they had moved in. The one that conveyed I was an imposition, a burden she had magnanimously agreed to bear. "Nobody desires your outdated possessions, Dad. It belonged to your mother." My throat felt constricted, the only item I had retained. "Then you should have exercised greater caution with it." I stood there, watching her mince celery into minuscule, violent fragments, and a chill spread through my chest. Not a fiery anger, but a coldness, akin to the temperature plummeting before a storm. "Jennifer, please." I compelled myself to speak quietly. "I need to ascertain what has befallen it." She finally ceased her chopping, placed the knife down, and turned to face me, her eyes devoid of any warmth. They had been for years, truly. But I had been deluding myself, hadn't I? Persuading myself that this was still my daughter, Eleanor's daughter, the child who once brought us dandelions from the garden. "Very well," she stated. "I disposed of it. A pawn shop, desert something, over on Thomas Road." The words initially failed to register. Sold it. My daughter had sold Eleanor's necklace. You what? We required $800 for Hawaii. You declined when I asked, so I found an alternative. Her voice lacked any hint of apology or recognition that she had committed in transgression. She picked up the knife again, resuming her chopping. From the living room, Michael's voice drifted over, indolent and self-satisfied. It was simply lying there, Wilbur. Eleanor is deceased. Deceased individuals have no use for adornments. He didn't even sit up to utter this, keeping his gaze fixed on the television, scratching his stomach, and reaching for another handful of chips. The nonchalance of his remark was somehow more devastating than outright anger or confrontation. This was, to him, a self-evident truth. Naturally, they had sold it. Why wouldn't they? From the stairs, Amber emitted a laugh, that bright, hollow sound of someone who finds genuine distress amusing. Grandpa, you're being overly dramatic. It's merely a necklace. Mom procured an incredible vacation for us. I regarded her, truly looked. 23 years of age, Eleanor's granddaughter, and she possessed the same vacant gaze as her mother. When had that transformation occurred, or had I simply been refusing to perceive it? Your grandmother wore that piece every single day for 40 years, I said softly. Amber shrugged, already turning away, her phone repressed to her ear. Well, now someone else gets to wear it. The cycle of existence, or whatever. I stood in my kitchen within the dwelling Eleanor and I had purchased in 1985, the house we had filled with 42 years of cherished memories, and observed these three individuals, my daughter, her spouse, and her offspring. They stared back with the collective expression of people anticipating an inconvenience to remove itself. I turned and proceeded to my bedroom, closing the door behind me with a soft click, and sat on the edge of the bed. The empty velvet case remained on the dresser where I had left it. I retrieved it, opened it, opened it once more, and closed it again. The mechanical action brought a measure of calm. Or perhaps it wasn't tranquility. Perhaps it was something entirely different. My hands had ceased their trembling. I sat there for an extended period. The case rested on my knees. I sensed a subtle shift within my chest, not a breaking, but a transformation. I had fractured 3 years prior when Eleanor passed away. This was dissimilar. This was a settling, a hardening, a lucidity I had not possessed an hour earlier. They had sold Eleanor's necklace for a holiday excursion. Jennifer had entered my bedroom, into my personal drawer, taken the single item I held dear, and exchanged it for spending currency, and neither Michael nor Amber perceived anything amiss with that. Absolutely nothing. I stood, carefully placed the case back on the dresser, and reached for my phone on the nightstand. My hands remained steady as I navigated to the browser and typed Pawn Shops Phoenix. My finger hovered over the phone screen, scrolling through the list of pawn shops scattered across the expanse of Phoenix. The empty velvet case lay beside me on the bed, a small, square witness to my impending actions. My hand no longer shook. That fact surprised me more than anything else that had transpired this morning. I began to make calls. The initial establishment, Lucky Star Pawn, did not possess it. The woman who answered sounded unengaged. The second venue, Cash Express, placed me on hold for 6 minutes before delivering a negative response. The third had ceased operations permanently. The fourth failed to respond. I sat on my bed for each call, describing the necklace with unwavering consistency. A gold chain, a heart-shaped locket, an inscription inside reading, Forever W&E, 14 karat, acquired yesterday presumably. Each time I offered polite thanks and proceeded to the subsequent number. Jennifer's voice occasionally wafted upwards from downstairs, issuing instructions to someone. Michael's sports commentators provided a continuous low hum. I disregarded it all. The sixth call yielded a different outcome. Desert Gold Pawn, Harold speaking. I am seeking a gold necklace with a heart-shaped locket, I stated. It was sold to you yesterday. A brief silence ensued. Ah, yes, I recall that piece. Exquisite craftsmanship. Are you the husband? My chest tightened. I am. My wife passed away 3 years ago. I'm deeply sorry for your loss. His voice conveyed genuine commiseration. Sir, there is something you ought to be aware of regarding that locket. I straightened. What do you mean? When I was appraising it, the locket opened. There was a small note concealed within. The room seemed to tilt slightly. A note? I had no conception it opened. I removed it with utmost care. I wished to avoid any damage. It bears numbers inscribed upon it. Bank something. 40 years of marriage, and I had never known the locket opened. Eleanor had worn it against her skin each and every day, and I had never thought to seek out a clasp, never attempted to open it. "Did you inform the woman who sold it?" I inquired. She had already departed. Frankly, I am uncertain if she even realized the locket opened. She appeared rather hurried. Of course, she was. Jennifer, rushing to convert my wife's jewelry into funds for a holiday. She likely hadn't even examined it closely, merely perceiving gold and pecuniary gain. "I must retrieve it," I stated. "How much?" I offered her $800. "The fair market value is closer to $1,200. It is 14-karat gold, and the craftsmanship is exceptional. I will pay the $1,200. May I acquire it today? Please visit at your convenience before 6. I shall reserve it for you." "And sir," he paused, "I will not resell this to any other individual. It is yours." I expressed my gratitude, obtained the address, and sat for a moment, gazing at the phone in my hand. Eleanor had secreted something within that locket, a note containing banking details. What else had she not disclosed to me? I stood, placed my wallet and keys in my pocket, and descended the stairs. The family remained oblivious as I passed through the living room. Michael's feet still occupied the sofa. Amber was engrossed in her phone on the love seat. Jennifer was somewhere toward the rear of the dwelling. I exited the front door into the November sunshine. The drive to Midtown required 30 minutes. I programmed the address into my phone's GPS and followed the placid voice through familiar streets that had become alien by virtue of my purpose. Strip malls and auto repair shops interspersed with the occasional palm tree. Phoenix spread out flat and beige in every direction. Desert Gold Pawn occupied a corner storefront situated between a nail salon and a tax preparation office. Bars adorned the windows, yet they were clean bars. A tidy sign marked the establishment. I parked in front and sat for a moment, hands resting on the steering wheel, mentally preparing myself. Inside, the shop carried the scent of aged leather and metal polish. Glass display cases lined the walls, filled with an array of jewelry, timepieces, and cameras. A diminutive man, likely in his 50s, stood behind the counter, his gray hair neatly trimmed, reading glasses perched upon his nose. "Mr. Davis?" he inquired. "That is I, Harold Chen." He extended his hand, and I clasped it. "Allow me to retrieve your necklace." He disappeared into a back room and reappeared, carrying a small bundle wrapped in soft fabric. He unfolded it carefully upon the counter. And there it lay. Eleanor's necklace, the gold reflecting the fluorescent light, appearing precisely as I recalled it, resting against her collarbone each morning for 4 decades. The young woman who sold it, Harold remarked softly, appeared to be in her early 40s and seemed quite hurried. She was disinclined to negotiate. I offered her $800, as that is a fair price for the weight, but I immediately recognized its greater value. He paused. "Is she your daughter?" I offered no verbal response, merely withdrew my wallet and meticulously counted out $1,200 bills. Harold had already prepared the necessary documentation. He slid a small envelope across the counter. "The note," he stated. "I've placed it in here for safekeeping." "Thank you," I managed. "Take good care of it this time," he advised gently. I drove only 3 blocks before I was compelled to pull over. My hands were trembling once more, emotion surging back now that the task was accomplished, and I was alone. I parked in the lot of a shopping center, the truck facing the afternoon sun that streamed through the windshield. The necklace felt heavier than I remembered. I held it up to the light, turning it slowly, searching for the clasp Harold had mentioned. There, so minuscule that I had never previously noticed it, a small indentation on the side of the heart. I pressed it with my thumbnail. The locket sprang open. Inside, rolled to an impossibly tight degree, was a piece of paper no larger than my smallest fingernail. I used my fingernails to extract it, unrolling it carefully against my thigh. Eleanor's handwriting, microscopic, yet unmistakable. Bank of Arizona, Safety Deposit Box 4782. I sat in my truck transfixed by those words until the sun shifted and the glare on the windshield became excessive. Eleanor possessed a safety deposit box at the Bank of Arizona, box number 4782, and she had never informed me. I drove home in a daze, parked in the driveway, walked past my family, who remained entrenched in their positions like permanent fixtures, and proceeded to my bedroom. I stood by the window, observing the sun descend towards the horizon, the necklace clutched in one hand, the note in the other. What had Eleanor concealed from me, and why? That night, sleep eluded me. I lay in bed, turning the questions over and over, the necklace resting upon my chest where Eleanor used to wear it, feeling the slight weight of the gold, pondering what other secrets she had kept. Dawn arrived gradually. I showered, dressed in my best khakis and a button-down shirt, and drove downtown to the main branch of the Bank of Arizona on Washington Street. The building rose 10 stories, a structure of glass and steel, imposing. I passed through the revolving door into a marble lobby that echoed with hushed conversations and the clicking of heels. A young woman at the information desk looked up with a professional smile. Her name tag read, Lisa. "I need to access a safety deposit box," I stated. "Of course. Do you have the box number and identification?" I presented Eleanor's death certificate. I had brought it, a premonition telling me I would require it, and my driver's license. Lisa examined both documents with scrutiny. "I will require identification and your wife's death certificate. You are listed as the surviving spouse." "Yes." "Married for 42 years. She typed information into her computer, nodding. "The box was last accessed in 2019, 6 years ago. No activity since. 2019. Eleanor had received her diagnosis in early 2022. She had arranged for this 3 years prior to becoming ill, before either of us had any inkling of what was to come. My wife passed away in 2022, I clarified. She must have established this before that. Lisa's professional demeanor softened slightly. "Please take all the time you require in the privacy room, Mr. Davis. I will guide you through the procedure." She led me through a heavy door into a vault room, its walls lined with metal drawers, each featuring 2 keyholes. Lisa utilized her key and the box number to slide out a long metal container. She handed it to me, heavier than I had anticipated, and guided me to a small, windowless room furnished with a table and chair. "I will be outside when you have concluded," she said softly, and closed the door. I sat in solitude, the metal box resting on the table before me, and found myself unable to open it. My hands lay on either side of it, feeling the cold metal, and I contemplated Eleanor, 6 years prior, entering this very room, placing something inside this box and locking it away without informing me. Finally, I lifted the lid. Stacks of currency, $100 bills secured with rubber bands, neatly organized in envelopes. I counted swiftly, at least $20,000, perhaps more, and beneath it all, a sealed envelope, my name inscribed in Eleanor's meticulous handwriting. Wilbur. I picked up the letter, held it against my chest with my eyes closed. She had known, somehow she had foreseen that something was amiss, known that I would require this, known that Jennifer would. My fingers found the seal of the envelope. I broke it with deliberate care, unfolding the paper within. My fingers carefully broke the seal, the paper rustling in the quietude of the privacy room. I unfolded 2 pages covered in Eleanor's script, that neat measured handwriting I had seen on grocery lists and birthday cards for 42 years. My breathing grew shallow as I began to read. "My dearest Wilbur, if you are reading this, I am gone and you have discovered what I have concealed." The initial sentence struck me with the force of a physical blow. Her voice resonated so clearly that I could almost hear it, that slight rasp she had developed in her 50s, the way she would pause between thoughts. "I have accumulated this money over 30 years. Small sums from each paycheck that you never noticed. Do not be displeased with me for the secrecy. I did so because I love you and I am aware of what is impending." I read with increasing speed, my hand trembling against the edge of the table. "Jennifer has always presented challenges. Do you recall when she was 25 and insisted we finance her wedding only to exclude your brother because he could not present an extravagant gift? I perceived her true nature at that point, the way she regards individuals as mere transactions, the way nothing is ever sufficient. I did recall. Eleanor had been distressed for weeks, but I had dismissed it as typical wedding-related stress, a mother-daughter dynamic. I had made excuses for Jennifer. After I depart, she will view you as nothing more than a resource to exploit. Michael will encourage this. He has always been opportunistic. You are aware of this, even if you are unwilling to admit it, and Amber learns from her parents. I regret having to articulate these sentiments, but it is imperative that you hear them. My jaw tightened. Eleanor had attempted to caution me subtly over the years, through minor remarks that I had dismissed as excessive criticism, as a mother being overly demanding of her daughter, but she had perceived with clarity what I had refused to acknowledge. These savings are for you, my dear. $27,000 to shield yourself when you finally comprehend what I have perceived. Do not permit them to render you a victim. You possess a strength that you underestimate. Be resilient. Live for yourself. The house, the finances, all of it. It is yours. You have labored for it. Do not allow them to claim it through guilt or obligation. I ceased reading, pressing the letter against my chest. $27,000, plus what was contained within the box. I had estimated quickly, anticipating over $20,000 more. Eleanor had amassed nearly $50,000 without my knowledge. How had I not noticed? All those years of her working night shifts at the hospital, taking on extra hours, and I had attributed it solely to her dedication to nursing. The final paragraph. I wish I could be present to safeguard you, but I trust you will comprehend what actions to take when the moment arrives. You have consistently been thoughtful, methodical, and cautious. Employ those strengths now. Do not be intimidated, and know that I cherish you more than anything in this world. Forever yours, Eleanor. I sat in that confined space and reread certain passages. The wedding incident, the warning concerning Michael, the directives to remain strong. Every word felt like an affirmation I had not realized I desperately required. Eleanor had observed everything, understood everything, and she had made preparations for this very moment. I folded the letter with meticulous precision, placing it in my jacket pocket, directly over my heart. The cash remained within the box, an excessive amount to carry securely, and I was not yet certain of my intentions regarding it. I stood, pushed the chair in, and opened the door. Lisa looked up from her desk. All concluded. Mr. Davis? Yes. Thank you for your assistance. You are most welcome. Should you require access to the box again, kindly call in advance. I proceeded through the marble lobby, my footsteps echoing. Outside, the afternoon sun struck me with the force of a physical barrier, harsh and unforgiving. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes, gazing through the windshield at the concrete wall of the parking garage opposite me, not truly perceiving it. Eleanor, always watching my back, even now, even from beyond. I touched the necklace concealed beneath my shirt, feeling the warm metal against my skin. The drive home proceeded on instinct. Traffic signals, turn indicators, lane merges. At a red light on Central Avenue, I pressed my palm against the letter in my pocket. A horn blared from behind me. The light had turned green. I drove forward, my mind processing everything I had read. Home appeared different as I pulled into the driveway. I sat and observed through the front window before exiting the vehicle. Jennifer on the couch, her feet tucked beneath her, her phone pressed to her ear, laughing at something. Michael sprawled in my recliner. Eleanor's 30th anniversary gift to me. The brown leather worn to the contours of my body, Amber at the kitchen table, bottles of nail polish scattered about, cotton balls everywhere, painting her nails a vibrant pink. My house, my personal space, occupied as if conquered territory. I walked inside. Nobody looked up. Jennifer was the first to notice the necklace. The delicate chain peeked out from where I'd tucked it inside my shirt near my collarbone. Her gaze locked onto it, her features hardening instantly. "Is that Mom's necklace?" she demanded. "You got it back." I instinctively touched it, a protective gesture. "Yes," I replied. She pushed herself up from her chair, her phone held low. "Hand it over. We sold it." "That means it's ours now. You can't just reclaim it." My voice remained steady. "I bought it back. I paid $1,200. Her face flushed crimson. "With whose money? You're living on a fixed income. That's our inheritance you're frittering away." Our inheritance. It felt as though she already considered me deceased, as if everything I possessed had already passed into their hands. Michael, disentangling himself from the recliner, lumbered closer. Jennifer's right, he interjected, his voice gruff. You're spending money that belongs to the family. It was my wife's necklace. He delivered the line with a disarming casualness, as if merely commenting on the weather. Your deceased wife? You need to move on, Wilbur. Face the facts. Facts? He scoffed. Yeah, you're getting old. This house is far too large for you anyway. Sign it over now. Save everyone the hassle down the line. I met his gaze, truly seeing him for the first time. The calculating glint in his eyes, the barely suppressed eagerness. He wasn't even bothering with pretense anymore. None of them were. From across the room, Amber, not looking up from her meticulously painted nails, chimed in. Grandpa, you're being selfish. Mom and Dad need stability. They live here rent-free. That's what family does. We look after each other. Is that what this is? I inquired softly. Looking after each other? No one responded. Jennifer crossed her arms taut. Michael's jaw muscles worked, as if he fought the urge to say more. Amber blew gently on her still wet nails. I turned and walked towards my bedroom, closing the door behind me. The faint click of the latch echoed with a sense of finality. I sat on the edge of the bed, retrieved Eleanor's letter, unfolded it, and reread the concluding paragraph. Be strong. Live for yourself. I carefully placed the letter into the drawer of my nightstand. From my desk, I retrieved a yellow legal pad and a pen. I sat down at the desk Eleanor had purchased at an estate sale years ago, its surface bearing the marks of time, yet remaining solid and dependable. At the very top of the first page, I wrote, March 17th, actions taken. Below that, I began to compile a list. The first entry, 1. Document everything. I awoke before dawn on March 18th, the legal pad beside me filled with notes from the previous evening. I had spent hours after the confrontation, lost in thought, strategizing, and writing, my engineering training reawakening. Identify the problem, gather data, develop solutions, execute systematically. I dressed quietly in the darkness. The house slumbered around me. My family still lost in sleep, no doubt recovering from their late-night television viewing and endless complaints. I moved through the hallway like a phantom, each step measured and hushed. In the living room, I began photographing the clutter of Michael's possessions spread throughout the space. Work boots by the door, a man who didn't work, a jacket slung carelessly over the arm of the couch, remote controls, empty chip bags, beer cans scattered across the side table. My coffee table had been shoved 3 feet out of its proper place to accommodate his sprawl. Next, the bathroom. Amber's makeup had colonized every inch of counter space. Bottles of foundation, tubes of lipstick, palettes of eyeshadow, brushes standing in assorted cups. I meticulously photographed it all. The guest room, which Eleanor had once used for her crafting endeavors, now served as Jennifer's walk-in closet. I opened the door to reveal racks of clothing, shoes lined up against the wall. I documented that as well. In the kitchen, I opened the refrigerator. Every item inside had been purchased by me. I withdrew a receipt from my wallet, $243 from 3 days prior. I photographed the contents of the fridge, then the receipt placed beside it. The electricity bill lay on the counter, $287. My name was printed at the top. I'd never been reimbursed. I photographed that too. Returning to my bedroom by 6:30, I transferred the photos to my laptop, creating meticulously organized folders by date and category. This would serve as my evidence, irrefutable and documented. Over the ensuing 2 weeks, I became remarkably methodical. I sifted through my filing cabinet, retrieving documents I had meticulously kept organized for years. The house deed, acquired in 1905 and fully paid off in 2018. My name alone appeared on the property tax records, all current, all paid by me. Utility bills spanning 3 years, each clearly indicating zero contribution from Jennifer's family. On March 25th, while everyone else was out for the day, Jennifer to her part-time job at the dental office, Michael supposedly job hunting, Amber meeting friends. I installed the camera. I had thoroughly researched Arizona law, single-party consent for recording. This was my home, my right to protect it. I had discovered a camera system online that was ingeniously disguised as a smoke detector. I ordered it with 2-day shipping. The installation itself took no more than an hour. I watched a tutorial on my laptop twice before carefully removing the old smoke detector from the corner of the living room. The new unit was identical in appearance, yet concealed a wide-angle camera lens, barely discernible behind the white plastic grill. I mounted it, then tested the connection on my phone. The view was perfect, encompassing the couch, the kitchen entrance, and most of the main living area. I felt no guilt whatsoever. This was my home, my property. They had forfeited any reasonable expectation of privacy the moment they began conspiring to seize everything from me. The recordings proved invaluable almost immediately. By March 29th, I had amassed hours of footage. That evening, I sat at my bedroom desk, the door securely locked, my laptop open, watching. Jennifer's voice filtered through clearly. "I can't believe he spent $1,200 on that necklace. That's our money," Michael's voice responded from the couch. "He's being selfish. Old people get like that. When this house is ours, the first thing I'm doing is remodeling. This place is stuck in 1985. Might not have to wait too long. He's what, 67? How many years he realistically has left?" I saved the clip, labeling it with care. Evidence 329, Inheritance Discussion MP4. Another clip, dated April 1st, showed Amber on the phone with a friend perched on the stairs. "My grandpa is such a pain. He got all weird about my mom selling some old necklace." The friend's voice was faint. "Why'd she sell it?" "We needed Hawaii money. He wouldn't give it to us, so Mom took care of it herself. Honestly, I'll be glad when this house is ours and we don't have to deal with his drama." My expression remained impassive as I watched, saved the clip, and added it to the ever-growing folder. The financial forensics consumed more time. I pulled 3 years of bank statements, spread them across my desk, and created a detailed spreadsheet. Every loan I had provided to Michael was entered, along with the corresponding dates and amounts. $500 for car repairs in May of 2022, $1,200 for an emergency dental procedure in August of 2022, $2,000 for an investment opportunity in November of 2022. The list went on and on, month after month. I meticulously added formulas. I watched the total steadily climb. By the time I finished, the number at the bottom read $18,500. The repayment column, however, contained nothing but zeros. I printed the spreadsheet and added it to my evidence folder. I discovered Jennifer's credit card statements mixed in with my own mail. She had been using my address without my knowledge or consent. The Hawaii trip was itemized in detail, $4,200, encompassing flights, hotel accommodations, and excursions, plus the $800 from the sale of Eleanor's necklace. By early April, my folder had become impressively thick, packed with documentation, photographs, video recordings, financial records, and property documents, all meticulously organized with tabs and labels. One evening, I sat at my desk, the folder open before me, and knew it was time. I picked up my phone and searched for Elder Law Attorneys Phoenix. Patricia Morrison's practice appeared third in the search results. Protecting senior rights, experienced elder law attorney, I called the following morning. Her receptionist scheduled an appointment for me on April 3rd at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The office building downtown rose 12 stories, its glass and steel exterior reflecting the vast desert sky. I parked in the underground garage, took the elevator to the 3rd floor, and found Patricia Morrison's name displayed on a glass door. The reception area was neat and professional, furnished with comfortable leather chairs and a table holding various legal journals. The receptionist escorted me to Patricia's office. She stood to greet me, a woman in her 50s with a distinctive streak of gray in her dark hair, pulled back neatly. She wore a smart business suit, and reading glasses hung on a chain around her neck. She shook my hand firmly and gestured towards a chair opposite her meticulously organized desk. "Mr. Davis, please tell me what's going on." I placed my evidence folder on her desk. "My daughter and her family have been living in my house for 3 years. They don't pay rent or contribute anything towards expenses. They've been financially exploiting me, and they're simply waiting for me to die so they can take everything." Patricia's expression remained unchanged. She opened the folder and began to review the documents, making notes on her own legal pad. She asked questions in a sharp, efficient manner. "Do they contribute anything towards household expenses?" I replied. "No," she continued. "Have you formally asked them to leave?" "Not formally," I admitted. "Good. We'll handle this properly. She continued to examine the contents of the folder, watching video clips on my laptop, scrutinizing the spreadsheet, and reading the property documents. 20 minutes passed in silence, punctuated only by her occasional pointed questions. Finally, she looked up. "Mr. Davis, this documentation is excellent, very thorough. How long has your daughter's family resided there?" 3 years since my wife passed away. "And they've never paid rent, utilities, or contributed to household expenses?" "Not a single dollar." "Jennifer says family doesn't charge family," Patricia stated, nodding as she wrote. "Did you invite them to live there permanently, or was it intended to be temporary?" "Temporary. Just until they found a place. That was 3 years ago." She set down her pen, folding her hands. "Under Arizona law, they are considered tenants at will. You can establish rental terms at any time." "What if they refuse to pay?" I asked. "Then we have grounds for eviction," she explained. "But we will proceed strictly by the book, everything documented, everything legal." "How long does an eviction typically take?" "If they contest it, perhaps 3 months. However, given your evidence of their behavior and the financial exploitation documented so thoroughly, I don't anticipate it will take that long. Most people move out when they realize you are serious." I touched the necklace beneath my shirt. Eleanor's presence still guided me, still protected me. "My retainer is $3,000, Patricia informed me. That covers initial filings, drafting the rental agreement, and the first phase of eviction proceedings if necessary." "That's fine," I confirmed. She studied me for a moment. "Are you absolutely certain you wish to proceed with this? They are your family?" "My wife warned me this would happen," I confessed. "I should have heeded her advice sooner." Patricia retrieved a retainer agreement from her drawer and placed it in front of me, along with a pen. "Then let's get to work." I signed with a steady hand, my signature firm across the bottom line, and slid the document back across her desk. She took it, placed it in a folder, her movements precise and professional. "I will have the rental agreement drafted by next week. We will serve it formally and observe their response." I stood and shook her hand again. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," she cautioned. "This is just the beginning." I walked out of her office into the hallway. The door closed behind me with a soft click that signaled both an ending and a new beginning. The war had officially commenced. A week after signing Patricia's retainer agreement, I sat at my bedroom desk reviewing the rental agreement she had emailed. It was 3 pages long, professionally formatted, and dense with legal terminology. I read every clause twice, then a third time. Rent, $1,500 monthly, payable by the 1st of each month. Payment of 50% of all utility costs. Respectful behavior toward the property owner and peaceful enjoyment of the premises. A 30-day notice period if the tenant fails to comply with the stated terms. The market rate for comparable living spaces in Phoenix hovered around $2,200. Patricia had explained the strategy behind these terms. "Make the terms reasonable," she had advised, so that no judge could deem them punitive. "This isn't about extorting Jennifer. It's about establishing your rights as the property owner and defining their status as tenants." I touched the necklace beneath my shirt. Eleanor would have approved of this methodical approach. I clicked reply, typed, "This is perfect, let's proceed," and hit send without a moment's hesitation. Patricia arranged for the official service. On April 10th, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a woman arrived at my door, carrying a leather portfolio, dressed in professional attire, exuding an air of efficiency. Deborah Clean, a notary public. Jennifer appeared behind me. "Who is this?" she asked. I stepped aside, allowing Deborah to enter. She moved toward the dining table, opened her portfolio, and produced the rental agreement and her notary seal. Jennifer hovered nearby, suspicion radiating from her. "Miss Thompson," Deborah announced, her voice carrying formal weight, "I am here to serve you with a rental agreement for this property. Please read it and sign, acknowledging receipt." Jennifer snatched the document. Her eyes darted rapidly across the first page, her expression darkening with each line. "Bueno, $500 a month utilities. This is insane." "The document outlines the terms of your continued residency," Deborah stated calmly. "You are not required to agree, merely to acknowledge that you have received it." "I'm not signing anything." Deborah made a notation on her form. "Service is complete regardless. You have 30 days to respond." Jennifer whirled around to face me. "What is this? Some kind of joke?" It's a rental agreement, legally required. We are your family. This house belongs to us. This house belongs to me. The deed is in my name. You are tenants. Tenants? Tenants? Her voice cracked with disbelief. Michael emerged from the living room, took the agreement from Jennifer's trembling hands, and read it quickly, his face contorting with anger. You're not thinking clearly, Wilbur. Perhaps you need a doctor to evaluate your mental state. My mental state is perfectly fine. We'll see what a judge says. A competency hearing. We'll get guardianship. You are welcome to try. He stepped closer, leveraging his height advantage. You have no idea what you are initiating, old man. Deborah gathered her materials with practiced efficiency, clearly accustomed to volatile situations. She departed without ceremony. The door closed behind her with a definitive click. The terms are reasonable, I stated into the ensuing silence. Below market rate for rent in this neighborhood. We're not paying you rent, Jennifer's voice was thick with emotion. Then you need to leave. Michael's jaw worked. We're not going anywhere. You have 30 days. After that, the decision will no longer be yours. I walked to my bedroom and closed the door, sitting on the bed for a moment, breathing steadily. Through the walls, Jennifer's voice rose in a fury. Michael's deeper rumble responded. Amber's higher pitch joined the cacophony. I had other moves to make. Reaching the bank downtown took 30 minutes. I parked in their garage, took the elevator up, and asked to speak with a manager. Marcus, in his early 30s, with a professional demeanor, led me to his office. How can I help you today, Mr. Davis? I slid Jennifer's old signature card across his desk. I need her removed from all access to my accounts. Marcus typed on his computer, then frowned. She hasn't accessed the account recently, but there was an attempt last week, April 3rd. We denied it because she didn't have proper identification, but she claimed to be acting on your behalf. My jaw tightened. April 3rd, the very same day I had met with Patricia. Jennifer had attempted to drain my accounts while I was actively securing legal representation. Remove her completely, I instructed. New passwords, new security questions. I'll also flag the account for fraud attempts. Marcus made notes. Would you like documentation of the attempted access? Yes, please print the security log. He complied. I added the printout to my rapidly growing evidence folder. The following morning, I met with Andrew Morrison, an estate specialist Patricia had recommended. His office occupied the second floor of a quiet building near Camelback Mountain. Andrew reviewed my existing will, which left everything to Jennifer, drafted 5 years prior, and set it aside, then pulled out fresh documents. Are you certain about these changes? Completely certain. I initialed each page. 3 beneficiaries were designated: the Phoenix Homeless Coalition, the Memory Research Foundation, and the Arizona Elder Rights Advocacy Center, organizations that genuinely contributed to the world. Jennifer would receive nothing. Andrew witnessed my signature, applied his notary seal, sealed the document in an envelope, and handed me a copy. Effective immediately, Mr. Davis. Thank you. Back home, I avoided the living room where my family congregated. I overheard Jennifer on the phone. I know Mom's lawyer might help. I didn't know Eleanor's family attorney, but I doubted he would side with Jennifer once he understood the situation. Over the next few days, I meticulously documented everything. Michael deliberately blocking me in hallways. Jennifer tampering with my mail. I found several pieces opened and refolded, hidden in the kitchen drawer beneath dish towels, including Patricia's letter detailing legal strategy. Federal crime, mail tampering. I photographed the violated envelopes, the hiding place, everything. On the evening of April 14th, I attempted to leave my bedroom for dinner. Michael was leaning against the wall directly outside my door. Excuse me, I said. He didn't move. We need to talk about this rental nonsense. Please move. He shifted slightly, but not enough. What if I don't? I threatened. I'll call the police. He laughed. For what? I'm standing in a hallway. He eventually moved, but the message was clear. The hallway camera captured everything: his deliberate positioning, his refusal to move, his threatening posture. That same night, he escalated further. I was making tea in the kitchen when he entered, getting too close, invading my personal space. When I attempted to step around him, he shoved me, not hard enough to knock me down, but enough to make me stumble against the counter. "Careful, old man," he sneered. "Accidents happen at your age." The rear camera captured it perfectly, his hand making contact, my body shifting from the force, his satisfied smirk. I didn't respond. I took my tea to my bedroom and locked the door. At my desk, I methodically compiled everything. Video of Michael blocking my door, video of the push, a clear assault, photos of the intercepted mail, bank notifications about Jennifer's access attempt. I created a folder titled Emergency Eviction Evidence with organized subfolders and wrote an email to Patricia detailing each violation. I attached the complete folder. Her response arrived within minutes. "Call me immediately. This changes everything." I called and she answered on the first ring. "Wilbur, the push is assault. The mail tampering is federal. The bank fraud attempt is elder exploitation." What does this mean? It means we are not waiting 30 days. I'm filing for emergency eviction based on domestic violence and financial abuse. How fast? Court hearing within 2 weeks. Bring all your evidence. They're going to regret escalating this. On April 15th, another notification from my bank appeared in my inbox. Jennifer had made a second attempt to access my account, this time claiming I had granted her power of attorney. The bank denied it, flagging it as potential elder fraud. I forwarded the email to Patricia with the subject line, "Escalation," and the message body containing a single word. More ammunition. I clicked send and watched the confirmation appear. I closed the laptop slowly. Through my bedroom door, Jennifer and Michael's voices rose in argument, undoubtedly planning their next move, still believing they held some leverage. They had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I walked into my kitchen to find Jennifer sitting at the table with a stranger. A man in a cheap suit, his briefcase open, papers spread before him. Jennifer's eyes were red-rimmed, tissues crumpled in her fist. She looked up. "Dad, this is my attorney, Mr. Carlson. We need to talk." Robert Carlson stood and extended his hand. I shook it but remained standing. "Mr. Davis," he began, "I have reviewed the rental agreement you served on my client." He gestured towards a chair. I did not sit. "I believe there's room for negotiation." "The terms stand," I stated firmly. Jennifer made pleading gestures from her seat. Carlson glanced at her, then back to me. "Sir, may I speak frankly?" He didn't wait for permission. "You are well within your rights. The house is titled solely in your name. The rental terms are reasonable, actually below market rate. My legal advice to my client is to comply with the agreement or relocate." Jennifer's face crumpled. "That can't be right. Tell him he's wrong, Dad." "He is not wrong." Carlson closed his briefcase with a decisive snap. "Miss Thompson, your father owns this property outright. You are not on the deed, nor are you on the mortgage history. There is no adverse possession claim after only 3 years. A blood relation offers no claim to possessions. By law, you occupy the premises as a tenant at sufferance, and he is in the process of defining formal tenancy terms. But I am his daughter. I have inherent rights, not to his estate. I regret to inform you." Carlson rose. "Mr. Davis, if you'll permit me." He departed with haste, evidently seeking to put distance between himself and Jennifer's escalating agitation. The instant the door clicked shut, Jennifer confronted me. "I cannot fathom you orchestrating this. Our mother would be utterly distraught. Your mother entrusted me with a personal correspondence. She forewarned me regarding your disposition." Jennifer's reaction was instantaneous. "What correspondence? You're fabricating this." She possessed complete insight into your true nature. Her assessments were entirely accurate. Her tears ceased as if a switch had been activated, her tone hardening. "You will come to regret this action." She retreated to the spare bedroom, firmly closing the door. I overheard her immediately engaged in a telephone conversation, her voice fluctuating in pitch and volume as she voiced her complaints. In the ensuing days, she initiated a meticulously planned campaign. She knocked on my bedroom portal midday, adopting an air of vulnerability, clutching tissues, her eyes brimming with simulated tears. "Father, I implore you. I am unable to sleep. I'm experiencing chest discomfort. This strain is proving detrimental to my health." She reached for my hand. I kept mine by my side. "I have sacrificed so much to be here with you following Mother's passing. How can you inflict this upon me? I observed her charade with an emotional detachment. Eleanor's letter had rendered me impervious to this form of manipulation. You have a period of 29 days remaining. I closed the door. Her simulated sob sounded insincere, even through the solid wood. Michael's strategy differed. It was more confrontational, more physical. I attempted to exit my bedroom the following morning. He was positioned in the corridor, leaning against the wall, directly in front of my egress, not entirely obstructing it, but close enough that I would need to maneuver past him with difficulty. Kindly excuse me. He remained stationary. We need to discuss this absurdity of a rental arrangement. Move, if you please. He adjusted his stance not sufficiently to permit passage, and if I decline, I shall contact the authorities. For what infraction? I am standing in a hallway. His smile lacked any semblance of warmth, anticipating the use of the restroom. Does that constitute a criminal offense? He eventually moved, but not before compelling me to turn sideways to pass. The surveillance camera situated in the hallway documented his intentional positioning, his calculated intimidation. That afternoon, I discovered my postal correspondence in the kitchen drawer once more, 3 days' worth, including an additional communique from Patricia already opened. My hands trembled as I photographed the evidence. Federal mail tampering. I transmitted the images to Patricia without delay. The social pressure emanated from Amber. She had been posting content with regularity since the rental agreement was served, meticulously crafting a narrative of victimhood for her online followers. My neighbor, Mr. Chen, approached me at the communal mailbox. Wilbur, I observed some online postings. Your granddaughter stated, "Well, is everything proceeding as it should?" "Everything is perfectly fine, Tom." She made it sound as though you were experiencing some form of episode, perhaps memory-related challenges. I'm in the process of establishing rental terms for my property. That is the entirety of it. His expression indicated a degree of skepticism. Indeed. Well, if you find yourself in need of anything, he departed with haste, leaving me standing in solitude with my mail. Across the street, Mrs. Patterson observed me, turned, and entered her residence without her customary greeting. Amber's concerted effort was yielding results. The neighborhood was beginning to adopt an adversarial stance towards me based on fabrications disseminated through social media. April 14th marked the point at which Michael transgressed the final boundary. I was preparing tea in the kitchen. He entered, encroaching upon my personal space. When I attempted to circumnavigate him, he placed his hand upon my chest and exerted pressure, not with sufficient force to cause me to lose my balance, but enough to make me stagger backward against the counter, to the extent that I had to brace myself on its edge. Exercise caution, elder gentlemen. Accidents are prone to occur at your advanced age. I offered no verbal response, collected my tea, and departed. Behind me, Jennifer's voice. Michael, not within the confines of the dwelling. However, the camera had recorded the entire incident, his hand making undeniable contact, my body compelled backward, his menacing tone. Within the confines of my bedroom, I sat at my laptop and methodically compiled the incriminating evidence, video segments meticulously organized by date and severity, photographic representations of tampered postal matter, digital captures of bank fraud notifications, Amber's social media transmissions archived. I generated a comprehensive chronological document cross-referencing each infraction with corroborating proof. Everything meticulously organized, everything duly recorded, everything prepared for judicial proceedings. I transmitted the complete compilation to Patricia. Her response was prompt. Optimal timing. An expedited hearing has been scheduled for May 2nd, a fortnight hence. They will be utterly unprepared for the repercussions. That same afternoon, an additional alert arrived from my financial institution. Jennifer had made another attempt to access my account, asserting that I had bestowed upon her enduring power of attorney. The bank denied her request, flagged the account, and contacted me for verification. I contacted them immediately, confirmed the fraudulent attempt, and requested comprehensive documentation. They dispatched it within the hour. I forwarded it to Patricia with a solitary word in the message body. Additional leverage, her reply. This is a textbook instance of financial exploitation of an elder. When considered in conjunction with the physical assault and male interference, we possess an irrefutable case. Commence mentally compartmentalizing their possessions. Their tenure is concluded. I stood by my bedroom window, observing the sun descend towards the western mountain range. Phoenix stretched out below in the ochre illumination, the metropolis where Eleanor and I had established our shared existence, where we had nurtured Jennifer, acquired this residence, labored, saved, and formulated plans for a future we had envisioned as tranquil. Within the living quarters, I could discern my family engaged in an argument. Jennifer's voice, sharp with alarm, Michael's defensive murmur, Amber's lament regarding the necessity of relocating. They continued to believe they were prevailing. They still maintained the conviction that their tears, their threats, and their social media pronouncements would compel me to yield. They remained oblivious to the fact that the snare had already enfolded them. I gently touched Eleanor's pendant through the fabric of my garment, felt the reassuring warmth of the gold against my skin, and allowed myself the faintest hint of a smile. 2 weeks until the judicial hearing, 14 days until justice was served. I could patiently await its arrival. 2 weeks later, I was seated in a courtroom, observing Judge Margaret Stone examine documents at her desk. The emergency hearing had convened. Patricia occupied the seat beside me, 2 expanding folders resting on the table before her. Across the aisle, Jennifer was huddled with Carlson and Michael, all 3 of them deliberately avoiding my gaze. Judge Stone looked upward, her steel-gray hair framing piercing eyes that had evidently perceived through innumerable familial conflicts. I have reviewed the evidence presented by Ms. Morrison. The video recordings are particularly distressing. Carlson stood. Your Honor, this pertains to a familial disagreement. Emotions are running high. Mr. Carlson, assault is classified as assault irrespective of familial connections, and the mail tampering constitutes a federal offense. The judge's pronouncement cut through his attempted justification. I am issuing a temporary injunction. Mr. Thompson shall maintain a minimum proximity of 10 feet from Mr. Davis at all times within the shared domicile. Any contravention will result in immediate apprehension. Michael nodded reluctantly, his jaw clenched. The comprehensive eviction proceeding is slated for July 2nd. Mr. Davis possesses the legal standing to establish rental stipulations or to petition for the relinquishment of his property. Patricia leaned in as we rose. 2 months, but we are achieving a victory. The family returned to the residence that afternoon. The restraining order effected no fundamental alteration. Michael maintained a physical distance, but the animosity remained palpable, dense as smoke. They refused to remit the sum of $1,500. They disregarded every communication from Patricia. They were illegally occupying my home, gambling on the assumption that I would capitulate. Mid-May, I arrived at a decision that surprised even Patricia. I intend to divest myself of the house. A moment of silence ensued on the telephone. Then, Wilbur, that is a drastic measure, but strategically astute. Remove the asset they are actively contesting. Precisely. She recommended Robert Santos, a real estate professional adept at navigating complex situations with discretion. He arrived on May 20th at 10 o'clock in the morning, carrying a leather portfolio and a digital camera. Mr. Davis, let us ascertain the scope of our undertaking. I guided him through the premises. He photographed each chamber, the living area, with its familial clutter set aside, the kitchen, dated yet functional, the sleeping quarters, indicating occupancy. He employed a laser device for measurements. He recorded observations on a tablet. Jennifer observed from the hallway, her arms crossed, displaying suspicion, but not yet comprehension. Within the rear garden, Robert conducted measurements of the property boundaries. Jennifer stormed forth. Who are you? What are your activities here? Robert maintained a professional demeanor. I'm a licensed real estate agent performing a property evaluation. She turned towards me on the patio, her complexion draining of color. Father, what is transpiring? I'm initiating the sale of the residence. No, you are unable to do this. She advanced, then halted, recalling that the restraining order pertained to Michael and calculating whether it extended to her. This dwelling is ours. I spent my formative years here. It is my home. My name is inscribed on the deed. The decision rests with me. Robert concluded his measurements, expressed his gratitude to me with quiet sincerity, and departed, leaving Jennifer standing in the yard with a distressed expression. The following day, he contacted me with his assessment. The property is in commendable condition. Certain superficial enhancements would be beneficial, but it is marketable in its current state. I would propose a listing price of $385,000. You may anticipate offers in the range of $375,000 to $385,000 within a fortnight. With what degree of expediency can we proceed? List it tomorrow. Given the prevailing market conditions in Phoenix, you can anticipate receiving offers by the conclusion of the week. Proceed. A week later, Robert returned accompanied by a company vehicle and an assistant. They erected a substantial sign in the front garden, vividly colored in red and white, making it impossible to overlook. For sale, emblazoned in bold lettering, Robert's photographic likeness and contact number positioned below. Jennifer observed from the living room window, her countenance contorted with a mixture of rage and disbelief. Within mere hours, the listing became accessible online. My mobile device vibrated with a notification. Your property is now active on the multiple listing service. I demonstrated this to Patricia via a video conference. She offered a smile. Excellent. The inaugural viewing occurred 3 days hence. A young couple, Sarah and Marcus Chen, both in their early 30s, navigated the interior with a degree of awkwardness. I had retreated to my sleeping quarters, but I could discern their movements throughout the house. Jennifer's family remained sedentary, casting hostile glances at the interlopers. Michael deliberately reclined on the sofa, creating an uncomfortable atmosphere for them. The young woman's voice carried down the corridor. Are the current occupants included in the premises? Robert's diplomatic rejoinder. The property will be vacated upon completion of the transaction. Despite the palpable hostility, they expressed interest. Robert contacted me that evening. They are extending an offer. $383,000, $2,000 below the asking price, but they have secured pre-approval and desire a swift closing. Accept it. Are you certain? You do not wish to submit a counteroffer for the full asking price. The imperative for speed supersedes the marginal difference of $2,000. Accept it. Concurrently, Jennifer engaged in desperate endeavors to construct a defense. I observed from my window as she approached Mrs. Patterson on the sidewalk. Their voices carried across the expanse of the yard. Mrs. Patterson, I require your assistance. My father is attempting to dispossess us. Could you provide testimony that I have been providing care for him? Mrs. Patterson's discomfort was apparent even from a considerable distance. Oh dear, I'm uncertain if I am able to provide such testimony. You have observed me in this vicinity. You are aware that I attend to his needs. Jennifer, my dear, I have observed you and your family residing in his residence. I have not witnessed extensive attentiveness, if I am to be candid. You do not comprehend the circumstances. I believe I comprehend the situation quite adequately. Mrs. Patterson departed with expediency. Jennifer approached 2 additional neighbors with comparable outcomes. No individual was willing to attest to something they had not personally witnessed. Towards the end of May, I convened with Robert at a coffee establishment to finalize the acceptance of the offer. He spread the purchase proposal across the diminutive table. Multiple pages of legal documentation indicated signature lines highlighted in yellow. Initial here, here, and here. Sign at the bottom. I procured his writing instrument, a substantial silver implement. I initialed 3 pages with meticulous care. I affixed my full designation on the acceptance page. Wilbur Davis. My signature was firm, unwavering. Robert countersigned as the designated agent and carefully placed the documents into his portfolio. I shall submit these to their representative today. The closing is scheduled for August 15th. We engaged in a handshake. As I stepped out into the brilliant June sunlight, my telephone vibrated. A text message from Patricia. July the 2nd is 3 weeks away. Are you prepared? I responded with a single word. Yes. I awoke before dawn on July 2nd, donned the dark suit I had worn to Eleanor's funeral 3 years prior, straightened my tie in the mirror, observing my own reflection, older now, somehow more hardened. I touched the pendant concealed beneath my shirt, felt the comforting warmth of the gold through the fabric. Today was the day. Patricia met me in the courthouse corridor at 9 o'clock. She was attired in a sharp business suit and carried those familiar expanding folders, now even more voluminous, filled with evidence. "We possess all the necessary materials," she stated. "Video evidence, financial records, medical documentation, witness testimonies from neighbors." Jennifer arrived moments later accompanied by Carlson, Michael, and Amber. We occupied opposing sides of the corridor, maintaining silence. The quietude felt appropriate. At 10 o'clock, we proceeded into the courtroom. Judge Stone assumed her position on the bench, briefly perused some papers, and then looked up. "Ms. Morrison, you may commence." Patricia stood at the podium. A projection screen had been arranged for the video presentation. She initiated the playback of the segment depicting Michael shoving me against the kitchen counter. The judge leaned forward, observing with intense concentration. This incident was recorded on April 14th, the day preceding our submission of the emergency relief petition. She transitioned to the financial ledger. These represent documented loans totaling $18,500, accumulated over a period of 3 years. Not a single repayment has been made. Subsequently, she presented my medical records. Blood pressure readings of 152/95, documented stress-induced symptoms. Physician's notes indicate the patient reports experiencing a hostile domestic environment. Each element meticulously constructed an irrefutable narrative. Carlson stood when Patricia concluded, attempting to humanize Jennifer's situation. "Your Honor, my client has been residing in her childhood residence. There was a mutual understanding," Judge Stone interrupted. "Was there a written agreement formalizing this understanding?" "No, but verbal agreements pertaining to property occupancy necessitate formalization. Mr. Davis attempted precisely that with the rental agreement. Your client declined." She gestured for him to resume his seat. "I've received sufficient information." The courtroom fell silent. "I've thoroughly examined all submitted evidence. The financial exploitation is evident and well documented. The video evidence demonstrates a pattern of intimidation and harassment." Judge Stone directed her gaze specifically at Jennifer. "Ms. Thompson, you were presented with reasonable rental terms. You refused. You were afforded numerous opportunities to vacate voluntarily. You refused." Jennifer's hands clenched the edge of the table. "I am granting the eviction. You have a period of 30 days until August 1st. If you have not vacated by that date, the sheriff will enforce the order." Jennifer began to weep. Michael stared straight ahead, appearing stunned. Amber reached for her mobile device before the bailiff cleared his throat meaningfully. Outside the courtroom, Jennifer approached me in the hallway. Her face was blotchy, her mascara smeared. "Father, I implore you, do not proceed with this. We will alter our behavior. We will remit the rent. It has transpired beyond that point. Where are we to seek refuge? That is no longer my concern. How can you exhibit such a lack of compassion? We are your family." I regarded her, truly regarded her, perceiving Eleanor's features in her countenance, but none of Eleanor's inherent warmth. "You were afforded 3 years following your mother's demise to conduct yourselves as family. You opted instead to behave as parasites." She recoiled as though I had delivered a physical blow. Patricia gently touched my arm. "Wilbur, we should depart." The sale progressed according to its predetermined schedule. Mid-July, a home inspector conducted a thorough examination, accompanied by Sarah and Marcus Chen, who followed closely. Jennifer's numerous boxes were already arranged in various corners. The reality of their impending departure was becoming evident. The inspector meticulously checked electrical panels, plumbing systems, and the structural foundation. The water heater is of an older vintage. The roofing material possesses an estimated lifespan of approximately 5 years. No significant structural issues were identified. Sarah inquired of me in a quiet tone, "Have you resided here for an extensive duration?" 40 years. I constructed a considerable portion of the decking myself. Marcus offered a smile. "It is a well-constructed dwelling, sound and robust. It merits a family that will truly appreciate its qualities." Sarah demonstrated an understanding of my unspoken sentiments. "We will ensure it receives exceptional care. That is all I request." On July 19th, a day prior to the stipulated deadline, a moving truck appeared in the driveway. I remained within my bedroom, the door closed, listening to the sounds of their departure, furniture scraping across the flooring, boxes being thudded, Jennifer's voice issuing curt directives, Amber's complaints regarding the strenuous nature of the lifting, neighbors observed from their respective yards, bearing witness to the family's exodus. A knock echoed at my door. I opened it. Jennifer stood there, visibly exhausted, defeated, her person covered in dust and perspiration. "Are you content now? You have achieved your objective. I did not desire this outcome. You compelled this situation. I shall never extend forgiveness. I do not require your absolution. I possess Eleanor's approval. That is sufficient." Her facial expression hardened. "I trust you are satisfied. I am not satisfied, but I am liberated." She turned away. Minutes later, the truck's engine roared to life. I observed from my window as it navigated out of the driveway, conveying my daughter away, perhaps for the final instance. The house felt demonstrably different immediately, lighter. The air circulated more freely. I traversed the now empty rooms as the evening luminescence slanted through the windows. Every footfall resonated. Within the living area, deep abrasions marred the hardwood flooring where the sofa had been dragged. The master bedroom exhibited a cavity in the wall approximately the size of a fist, Michael's animosity leaving its indelible mark. The kitchen counter bore persistent stains. A cabinet door hung askew. I documented each imperfection with my mobile device, narrating softly. July 19th, 6 p.m. Documenting the condition following the occupant's departure, I had no intention of pursuing them for monetary restitution for damages. I had already achieved my victory, yet the act of documentation felt imperative, final confirmation of their true identities. Standing in the central area of the living room, I held my phone, displaying the trail of destruction. Gouged walls, stained flooring, broken fixtures. I experienced no anger while observing these images. I felt a profound sense of vindication. Eleanor had been accurate in every regard. Her letter had prepared me for this precise moment, for these individuals possessing familiar visages, yet devoid of affection. Through the front window, the "For Sale" sign stood prominently in the yard, adorned with a red sold rider affixed to its upper portion. 4 weeks until closing, 4 weeks until I would depart this residence permanently. I touched the pendant one final time, then proceeded to my bedroom to commence my own packing. The quietude was extraordinary. After 3 years of unmitigated chaos, of incessant voices, demands, and hostility, the ensuing silence felt like an invaluable gift. I was finally free. 3 days after the family's departure, I sat at my laptop in the vacant dwelling, perusing real estate listings in Scottsdale. The silence permeated the surroundings, amplifying the sounds of my footsteps, my breathing, the click of my keys due to the pervasive absence. My packed cartons lined the walls, representing a lifetime compressed into cardboard containers. I had meticulously established specific search parameters: a 2-bedroom condominium or apartment situated in a secure neighborhood with a price ceiling of under $200,000, commencing anew at 67 years of age, entirely on my own volition. The initial property I viewed felt incongruous, excessively modern, characterized by an abundance of glass and steel, entirely lacking in warmth. The second was located on the ground floor, which instilled a sense of unease within me after years of feeling vulnerable in my own home. Subsequently, the realtor presented me with a second-floor apartment within a tranquil Scottsdale complex. It is a community designated for individuals 55 and older. Exceptionally serene, remarkably secure. I stepped onto the balcony. Mountain vistas, a gentle afternoon breeze, fellow residents of a similar age, walking canine companions below. The complex featured a gated entry, surveillance cameras, and a communal lounge that I would likely never frequent. "May we submit an offer today?" She appeared surprised. "Certainly. What is your proposed valuation? Full asking price, cash transaction, with no contingencies. By early August, the acquisition was finalized, not $95,000. I utilized Eleanor's concealed funds and a portion of the proceeds from the house sale. No mortgage was involved. The liberation derived from this arrangement felt truly exceptional. I dedicated a week to transforming the secondary bedroom into a workshop. Unpacked power tools remained encased in their original factory packaging. I divested myself of my former equipment years ago when Jennifer's needs completely consumed my time and spatial resources. Now, I meticulously installed a workbench, a fixed pegboard for tool organization, and arranged storage bins with methodical precision. The operation of the table, saws, when I tested them, provided a deeply satisfying, familiar sensation. I selected oak for my inaugural lumber purchase and commenced cutting pieces for a shadow box intended to house Eleanor's pendant. Sawdust filled the air. For the first time in many years, I was engaged in the creation of something tangible rather than managing someone else's disarray. August 15th arrived, the designated day for closing. I convened with Sarah and Marcus Chen at the title company's office, a nondescript office adorned with beige walls and a stack of official documents. We were seated opposite each other at the conference table. The title officer meticulously explained each document. I affixed my signature to page after page, my signature executed with an automatic fluency derived from decades of engineering contracts. Sarah slid an envelope across the table. A message intended for later was entrusted to me. I received it, securing it within my jacket. Marcus then presented a check, settling the remaining proceeds from the transaction. The official overseeing the property transfer handed the house keys to the Chens. Sarah's eyes shone with an inner light. "Thank you for entrusting us with your home," she expressed. "Make it truly yours now. That's precisely what it needs." I departed, carrying nothing but a box of photographs and Eleanor's necklace. I did not glance back. My drive led me directly to my new dwelling. I unpacked my meager possessions. That evening, I settled onto my new sofa, enveloped by the stillness of a space that was entirely my own. I opened Sarah's envelope and read their letter. "We want you to know we understand the sacrifice you made," it began. "We'll fill it with love and laughter. You gave us more than just a house. You gave us a future." I folded the letter with care and placed it in my desk drawer, alongside Eleanor's own message. Two beacons of hope from separate sources. Meanwhile, I had established a new bank account at a different financial institution. After all expenses and purchases, approximately $210,000 had been transferred. I arranged for automated payments for utilities, homeowner association fees, and every other responsibility, organizing them with the same meticulous precision I had once applied to engineering projects. For the first time in many years, I reviewed my financial statements without a trace of anxiety, free from the constant worry of what Jennifer might have pilfered or Michael might have illicitly acquired. Her attempts to reach me were persistent. I saw her name appear on my screen, allowing the call to go to voicemail, choosing not to listen. Another call came. Another. I navigated to my settings and scrolled to the option to block contacts. Confirmation. A text message arrived from a different number. Michael's. "You owe us," it read. "We're family." Blocked. Then another from Amber's number. "Grandpa, please answer." Blocked. The following day, I changed my telephone number, sharing it only with Patricia, my physician, and the security office of my apartment complex. In late August, a knock sounded on my apartment door. Peeking through the peephole, I saw Jennifer, her appearance marked by exhaustion and desperation. "Dad, I know you're in there," she pleaded. "Please, we need to talk. We made mistakes, but we're family." I retreated silently, settling into my armchair. Her voice continued, muffled through the door. "We're struggling. We can't afford. Please, Dad." More knocking. A door opened further down the corridor. A male voice intervened. "Ma'am, if you don't leave, I'm calling security." Jennifer's voice, strained, responded, "Jennifer, this is my father. He's not answering. You need to go." Footsteps receded. Finally, silence descended. I felt no remorse. I felt liberated. That evening, I found myself in my workshop, engrossed in the construction of a shadow box, its oak frame featuring dovetail joints, a project demanding both precision and patience. I applied wood glue with careful strokes, fitted the pieces together, and clamped them to set. Once completed, I mounted Eleanor's necklace inside and hung it on my living room wall, a place of prominence. The gold shimmered, catching the lamplight and casting a soft glow. I walked to my window and gazed out at the Scottsdale Mountains, silhouetted against the darkening orange sky. Tomorrow would be August 28th, precisely 3 years since Eleanor's passing. I had plans for this anniversary. Good, peaceful plans. 2 days prior to Eleanor's anniversary, I sat in Patricia Morrison's office for what would be my final visit. She slid a document across her desk. My newly finalized will. "It's official," she stated. "Everything will be distributed to the 3 charities as you specified. Your daughter is explicitly excluded, with an explanation that she has already received what you deem her fair share during your lifetime." I quietly read the relevant section aloud. "To my daughter, Jennifer Davis Thompson," it declared, "I leave nothing, as she has already received substantial financial support during my lifetime, and has demonstrated through her actions that she values my assets more than our relationship." I initialed each page and signed all 3 copies. Patricia and her paralegal bore witness as the notary seal was affixed. "You are protected," Patricia assured me. She then presented another document, a medical report from Dr. Sarah Patel, a geriatric specialist. "Jennifer attempted to file for guardianship," Patricia explained, "claiming you were mentally incompetent to manage your affairs." I wasn't surprised. I'd arranged for a comprehensive evaluation. The results were unequivocal: cognitively sharp, physically healthy, and fully competent. Her petition was dismissed without delay. I felt vindicated, though not astonished. I had always known I was sound. Jennifer, I realized, was the one who was truly broken. Patricia then handed me another letter. It was from Carlson, received the previous day, proposing family mediation to mend fractured relationships. I read it once. The desperation was palpable. Jennifer required funds. Reconciliation, she hoped, might lead to some form of inheritance. "No," I stated simply. "I will draft a response declining. The matter is closed." "Thank you, Patricia," I added. "For everything," she smiled. "It was my pleasure, Wilbur. You deserve justice." August 28th arrived, 3 years precisely since Eleanor's departure. I awoke before dawn in my new apartment. I prepared coffee in my small kitchen. The familiar ritual felt comforting and right. I carefully lifted Eleanor's necklace from its shadow box, holding it in my palm. The metal was cool to the touch, the heart-shaped locket perfectly formed. I opened it. The tiny compartment where her note had been concealed was now empty, but I remembered every word. I settled into my armchair, the necklace in one hand, her letter from my desk drawer in the other. I read it again. "Be strong. Live for yourself." "I did it, Eleanor," I whispered to the silent room. "I'm free." Tears welled, not from sorrow, but from a profound sense of release. She had saved me, even in death, granting me permission to choose myself over the weight of obligation. "You were right about everything," I continued. "Thank you for not giving up on me." I returned the necklace to its honored place on the wall, where it caught the morning light. That afternoon, I met Dennis Morrison at a Starbucks in Scottsdale. He was an old friend from my engineering days, someone I had lost contact with when Jennifer's family had consumed my life. He was already there, his hair now gray, his smile warm. We shook hands, the gesture evolving into a brief embrace. "I tried calling you a few times over the years," Dennis remarked as we sat with our coffees. "They always went to voicemail. I was occupied," I explained. "My daughter and her family moved in after Eleanor died." Understanding dawned in his expression. "Ah, that kind of occupied." We spoke for 2 hours, reminiscing about Eleanor, about engineering projects from decades past, and about Dennis's grandchildren. Finally, I said, "I'm living alone now by choice." Dennis grinned. "Good for you, Wilbur. That wasn't living before." "No," I agreed, "but it is now. How about chess next Thursday? Prepare to lose." "You're on." It was the first social engagement I had made for myself in years. That evening, I was in my workshop, working on an oak box with dovetailed joints, a task requiring precision and patience. I had already built the shadow box for Eleanor's necklace. This new box had no specific purpose yet. Perhaps I would give it to Dennis. Perhaps I would keep it for my own small treasures. It made no difference. What mattered was that I was creating it with my own hands, in my own time, for my own reasons. I applied glue to the final joint, carefully fitted the pieces together, and ran my hand over the smooth wood, feeling the grain. The satisfaction was profound. As I worked, I reflected on the journey. Eleanor's letter hidden within the necklace, the discovery of her savings, the legal entanglements, Patricia's expert guidance, the sale of the house, and this nascent new beginning. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt balanced. I meticulously cleaned my tools, swept away the sawdust, and examined the completed box in the light. The joints were flawless. I placed it on the workbench, content with my labor. Turning off the workshop light, I walked into my living room. Eleanor's necklace glowed softly in the evening light emanating from the window. The gold caught the final rays of the sun, casting miniature reflections across the wall, like distant stars, like promises fulfilled. I moved to the window and looked out at the Scottsdale Mountains, their forms darkening against the orange sky. My phone lay silent on the counter, my number, my contacts, my control. Tomorrow, I would meet Dennis for chess. Next week, I would complete another project in my workshop. The month after that, who could say? The future stretched out, unwritten, and for the first time in years, that prospect inspired freedom, not fear. I touched my shirt where the necklace had once rested against my chest. It was now on the wall, visible, honored, but no longer a form of armor. I no longer required armor. A genuine, peaceful smile spread across my face as I turned toward my kitchen to prepare dinner, a meal for myself alone. Exactly enough.